And we are live. Eddie, how you doing over there? I see you got
doing really well.
a LaCroix.
Mm-hmm.
You did have 2 coffees in the past half hour, but one of them you threw in the trash. Why was that?
You know, the K-Cup was not hitting like it usually does today for me.
Now, is that because of the recent reel that you watched about the
That's exactly why.
about what K-Cup filters look like from the inside and what they are putting into your coffee?
Yeah, I mean, right? It makes sense if you think about it. What the guy say? He says if you're puncturing plastic with hot water and you're dripping hot water through the plastic, that's eventually saturating these grounds of coffee to get through that plastic down into your cup. Kind of makes sense that it's probably not great for you.
So is it more psychological? Because we've been drinking K-Cups
Yeah,
for years.
It's definitely
Were you
psychological.
like sipping it thinking about all the plastic going in your body, or is it just was it truly a bad cup of coffee?
No, it was probably more mental, I think. I ordered it should be coming today, a pour over coffee contraption.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we have one, but we've moved so many times. I don't know if we've just misplaced it or...
It is misplaced. We have had
Yes.
that for a while. I actually got that at Colin Cooley's shop in Hermosa Beach.
Oh, did you? I didn't know
Off Pearl Ave or Pier Avenue. He has a shop down there called Wicked, and right next door is Beach and Beverly. He owns both those shops. So the Wicked shop that was his first store, and they sell so much cool stuff. It's like a general shop.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's a great place to go if you are looking for a unique gift. I've bought stuff there over the years, but yeah, I got a pour over contraption there. But you are right. It has been lost in the mini shuffles that we've made in the last 4 years. So I think pour over coffee, it's like the art of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be patient, definitely worth it. You can definitely, feel that in the taste. But I think a lot of our listeners right now who are running and who also drink K-Coffee and drink from coffee pots are just like, come on, Eddie. Come on, don't ruin it for us.
Sorry. Just looking out for your health.
You and I have been having a lot of good discussions about just personal goals for the new year. And here we are. It is 2 days post-Christmas. And as we are 4 days out from celebrating the new year, 2025, naturally, we've been having a lot of discussions about what we're looking forward to, personal goals, business goals, fitness goals. Do you want to share anything about what you're looking forward to? I mean, Eddie's goals is always an exciting.
Those are always exciting.
Yeah.
Because they make no sense, and they never are met. I think I don't know. I'm more on the long lines of the average person coming into 2025 of wanting to exercise and eat healthy. I just feel like that's,
I'd call that not the average person, but rather just a common goal that a lot of people have.
Very
they want
common goal.
Tap into better health.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I want to tap into better health.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like my gut and
gut health.
Yeah, I feel like I just want to tackle that and just, I think that'll like solve a lot of other things.
Don't you feel like in comparison to our college years, because you and I, college athletes, soccer players, which, I mean, the conditioning and endurance that goes into being a college athlete, it's above average, I would say. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're training twice a day, multiple hours a day.
Yeah.
And we always talk about, man, we were in such great shape. We were explosive and powerful and strong. We're lifting weights. We're running fast. We're sprinting. I mean, you guys always had the 2 miles in 12 minutes test at the beginning of the season. It was we were in really great shape. And it's easy in our young 20s and even into your young 30s to not really think about health but also kind of follow like really basic rules. Like we know that sugar and alcohol isn't like the best thing if you're trying to get healthier. You need sleep. I mean, we know, I think everyone, and especially our listeners, we know the basics of good health. It isn't a surprise that a brownie and a milkshake aren't going to make you feel amazing, right? They taste great.
Yeah.
Crave those things, but they don't always make you feel amazing. But right now, I think more than ever, we are living in an information
Oh,
overload,
yeah.
and it's very easy to find information on anything. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes I follow a lot of accounts where I can learn something. I always want to learn. I want to
Yeah.
be a student. And so the things that I follow on social media are like, organizing your home, like non-toxic living, and, just learning about all that stuff. It's health protocols and things like that. I want to learn about that stuff.
Is that
You know,
how you got a hold of that K cup thing? Is that
yeah, that is
okay?
that is how I saw that. Now, I always have to temper that with not everything out there is legit,
Yeah.
true, real. I always like to follow up with research. So I do. If I see something that's really interesting, I'm like, I'm actually gonna look into this. So I'll sit down at the computer and kind of do some research and look at varying points of views and
Hmm.
websites and especially as it comes to health stuff. Let's see if there's been any studies on this or anything that backs this up, because I think it's also where a lot of us have gotten in over our heads, especially our kids. They get on TikTok and they just think that's the truth. Well, I
Hmm.
saw it on TikTok, so it's true,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I like to say, being able to lean into wisdom, wanting to be wise and knowledgeable about things, that takes time.
Hmm.
You got to do some research. And then also check the source. So I think that the world that we're living in right now is, I just feel overloaded a lot with, and some people do funny reels about this too, where they're like, if I were to follow every protocol and do everything that, I learned
Yeah.
online about being healthy, my morning routine would be 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I'd be taking 98 pills every single morning and about a pound of powders, right?
So true.
So, I know many of you listening right now, you are running. Hello to those of you that are watching on YouTube. Thanks for having us
Yes.
with
Hello.
you
Hello.
today. We just love you guys. But
We do.
I think starting off in this way is really fun. I think we can laugh about it, but I think it's something that we all understand, is there's a lot of information out there right now. So when
Yep.
people choose to push play on our podcast, I'm especially grateful because, we can talk about these things in a real, raw way. I know,
Yeah.
Eddie and I say this often. We don't have all the answers. We are not experts. We're husband and wife, best buds, just doing life right alongside you. And it's fun just to chat about these things
Yeah.
and also experiment with some of this stuff. So that's always a fun thing to do. Some of these things are lighthearted things to experiment with. So even the coffee thing,
Yeah.
you and I have, we've loved coffee. I've done French press for a long time,
Yep.
for many years. That's like one of my favorite ways to make a cup of coffee. It just is more time. I think that this idea of a K cup, or setting the timer for your coffee maker to be ready and going while you wake up in the morning, those things are convenience,
Yeah.
right?
I used to be really good at that.
Yeah, especially when you have like an hour and a half drive in the morning.
Hmm.
You're getting on the road at 5:30 in the morning. It's like, it's nice when you wake up and you can smell that coffee. So what we know to be true is that the best things in life take time, they take work, they take effort. And sometimes I don't want to put in the effort for my coffee.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to do the pour over. I don't want to crush the beans and wait for the water to boil and like do the slow.
Yeah.
I got 30 seconds, spit me out coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the pour over is where 2025 pour over is where I'm going with coffee.
Yeah. And I think some of the things that we choose, it aligns with just like what our daily schedule is like.
Yeah.
10
right.
years ago, our schedules were very different. Our kids were younger. Our work schedules are different. You were an elementary school teacher 10 years ago. Up in 4 years ago, you were.
Yes.
3 years ago, actually.
Yes,
That's
I
wild to think.
was.
So you had a Keurig in your classroom.
I did. I've had many K cups in my life.
So our goals sometimes they just align with the seasons, and there's a time and a season for everything. So, proceed with grace. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you're trying to be better about your health and you fall off the wagon, or you don't know all the things. I mean, I've been around enough people who it's like you almost feel like that you're just kind of like downgraded if you don't know all the current
Yeah.
health stuff, or like they see you using a Ziploc baggie and you just feel like so ashamed. It's
How
like,
dare
why
you?
are we doing that to
Yeah.
each other? Be the change you want to see in the world, but that doesn't also mean then like make other people feel ashamed and oppressed when they're in your presence. So that's definitely not what we are doing here, but we're learning alongside you. And yeah, the goal in getting healthier, it is hard. There's a lot of details to it. It's not just getting out and getting to the gym and eating broccoli and an apple every day. There's so many pieces to it. And I know as someone who has, being an athlete is my career, my body is my job. And so
Yeah.
I'm always studying that stuff. I do know a lot about nutrition and recovery and what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing in order to have a great performance. But even so, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's a lot, especially when I'm in my peak weeks. I remember this especially when I was training for Badwater in 2021. And it was just the training, the recovery, then the second workout of the day. All of that often took about 6 hours of my day.
Yeah.
Okay, and all the while we were renovating a house.
Yep.
I was running like 3 parts of my business. 2 kids, middle school, high school. They have sports. They have social lives. It's fitting in all that stuff. It's like very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming to do that consistently every single day. So my heart is with the, genuine with people who are living like the real, like everyday life in the grind. I always tell Mackenzie this. I'm like, you are at a wonderful time in your life. You get to wake up. She trains in the morning.
The best.
She always sends us like a snap picture of, her coffee and her breakfast in the morning. She goes to a couple classes, gets ready for her second training, goes out to dinner with her friends. I'm like, soak that up. Some of these fitness influencers online, I'm like, dude, soak that up. Young 20s, like, yeah, your whole day is about, training, and you're taking time, making your meals. Like there's a time and a season for everything. Love that season that you have. Will that speak to the mom of 3 children who's a single mom working 2 jobs? Probably not.
Probably
isn't going to speak to her. But it is going to speak to a lot of, high school, college, young 20s that are trying to get healthy and figure things out. And yeah, I mean, well, I don't know what it is that we were probably talking about goals, but I said, Eddie, we've lived five lives.
Yes. Lived a lot of lives.
We've lived a lot of lives, many, many seasons.
All right, Sal, the New Year's resolutions are always on people's mind.
They are.
December 27th. And I looked up and, why do they fail? Because they always fail. And it said people
Did you say they always fail?
No, I'm just saying in general.
The majority.
People set unrealistic goals that lack specificity.
That's right.
Are not well planned, lack accountability, and this is the one that got me, are often based on a desire for quick change rather than a deep-rooted motivation to sustain the change over time. So you are pretty good at keeping goals and keeping focused on those goals. How would you share your kind of how you go about in the long haul, the long game, looking for the change over time rather than that deep-rooted or that quick change rather than the deep-rooted motivation? What do you do? 2
things that will help you keep your goals, reach your goals in 2025. If that is something that you really want to do. And Eddie, you made a great point.
I did.
That what did I say? You brought it up because I spoke about this. I feel like last year that people often miss their goals because of they don't have a focus. They don't have a clear focus, and 2, they do want that success very fast. 3, they get discouraged, and discouragement is one of the top reasons why we stop doing something. Yeah, discouragement can lead us just to quitting. Discouragement takes away our confidence in ourselves. Discouragement is it's the beginning of the lies we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that encouragement and discouragement, those are very two close words right there, right?
Yeah.
So in order to keep the discouragement away, you need to have a list of encouraging words in front of you each and every day. And the truth is, this is what I do in order to reach my goals. I do not go in to a goal without a plan. And 2, I do not go into a goal expecting to perfectly nail it. And I think that those 2 things have helped me achieve a lot over the years. So go in with a plan, and a plan for all scenarios. See, sometimes we sit down and we say, oh, I'm going to work out every single day for an hour and a half. And we don't really have a plan for that. We don't have a plan for the days that we're sick, or our kids are sick, or work gets busy, or the unexpected life-altering events that happen. These are all part of a very real life.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually what we do is when there is a hiccup, when there is a challenge, as we are trying to work our way towards this goal, is we say, you know what? Not right now. See, I told you this wasn't a good time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it. I knew I wasn't capable of doing it. Who am I kidding? That's really frustrating, because for some of us, we've done that so much that we've actually made it a part of who we are and how we approach everything in life. We don't believe in ourselves. We come in at a very low expectation. I'll try it. I don't know if I'm gonna achieve it. You know, I'm not really someone that achieves a lot. I'm not really much. I'm not very talented. This isn't my thing. I mean, I hear this with, the most basic example is just running. Mm-hmm. I've given this example many times when I coach run clubs or I make special appearances, and everyone shows up for the run. I always have a handful of people who make sure that I know that they are not runners, that they are not fast, that they are not fit, that they probably won't keep up, that they're going to be in the very back. That's information I don't need to know. That information doesn't matter, because the truth is you showed up. You're one of the few, the very, 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 very few that showed up. That is the most powerful of all. And so when you show up to your goal every single day, you have achieved the hardest part. Putting a plan in place for every scenario is how you will be successful. And this is where, Eddie, we have said this so many times. I feel like I've seen it even on a tattoo now, but it's something is better than nothing, done is better than perfect. That is where that comes in. Mm-hmm. You need to put that on a Post-it in 2025. Put that on your mirror. Put that on your dashboard in your car. It's showing up and at least doing something. So if your goal is, I'm going to train for an hour and a half every single day. I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning because I got to be at work at 8 a.m. And then you wake up and your baby girl's got a 105 fever. And well, that's super high.
Yeah,
let's say a 101 fever. That's a scary high. Yeah, but whatever that fever is. And so your day is thrown off, right? Most important thing is you taking care of that baby girl. And so it isn't then turn and think, well, I'm a failure and I can't do this. This isn't just good. What I say is, what can you do? Can you do something for 5 minutes? Can you do something for 10 minutes? If you had a rest day in there, can you flip the rest day and switch out a workout? Can you modify? And I think that is a very important part of progress. Is we want the results right away. We want to do the big workouts, the long workouts. We want to be strong and powerful and fast, and we want to feel good immediately. And when we don't, by the 4th day, we're like, what am I doing? That was really dumb. Mm-hmm. By the 4th day, when your car breaks down, you have a flat tire, or your boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with you, and you're just feeling really low about yourself. If you don't have a plan in place for when those challenges come, then it's going to be really hard to keep moving forward. This is the same thing why some people will drive with a spare tire in their car. They'll have a spare tire in their car for that one chance that maybe they'll get a flat tire. And some people will keep that spare tire in their car for 10, 12, 15 years and never use it, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a plan just in case on that one day when they need it, they are prepared. And you should do the same thing for yourself. You deserve that. You deserve to make a plan for yourself. Plan your steps. You don't know what life is going to bring you. You don't know what the journey is like ahead. You can't see what is in front of you. And people who are routinely successful in their life, if there are people in your life that you are inspired by, that you look up to, that you aspire to be like, or that you admire for, whatever successful thing that they have done, do not think for a second that they weren't met with massive adversity. It's just that they kept going. They kept trying. And so in 2025, I believe that we can all achieve more than what we once believed that we are capable of doing if we set ourselves up for success. Make a plan, be gracious. Don't approach things with this perfect mindset that you have to nail it every single day. I'll be honest, Eddie, there's a lot of plans out there that are like that make people feel like, you have 90 days to do this. You have to do it for 90 days. And there's a mental side to it. It's if I can't show up and be disciplined and do this thing for every single 90 days, then I'm a failure. Do we learn something in discipline and commitment? Absolutely. But I think you have to look at the most important part of some of these plans. It's just getting up and doing something every day. That's the most important commitment. Mm-hmm. It's okay if you don't hit the 100 push-ups, but every day you showed up to do push-ups. And only you know the truth about how you're feeling, the stress that you have of what your life is really enduring. So you don't want to sell yourself out either. Don't lie to yourself. Don't make excuses. Don't complain. Because we can commit to that routinely as well. And so a lot of this has to do with being honest, making a genuine commitment, but never giving up. You could do the 100 days of 100 push-ups and not hit 100 push-ups, maybe 18 times. But if within those 18 times you at least did 10, you can pat yourself on the back and say, I did push-ups every single day. Mm-hmm. And maybe next time I do that challenge, I'm gonna see if I can do all 100. And you get closer and closer and closer. This is like DNFing in races. I chatted with someone earlier this year who said, I've DNF'd in the 100-mile distance 3 times. And I really hope that I can, I'm signed up for another one. And I thought, that's awesome. You DNF, which is for our listeners, it's did not finish. You DNF 3 times. And yet you're telling yourself, I think I can do it. You know what an amazing feeling that is when you try something over and over and over and you fail and then you finally achieve it. Mm-hmm. That is the best feeling because there is so much learning in that. There's so much learning that often goes unnoticed when we don't give up, when we don't quit, when we just keep trying. Failures do not mean that you should stop. Failures do not mean that you are weak or that you're not capable or that you shouldn't be doing it or that you are wrong or that you're not a good fit. It's a lesson. That's all it is. And many times it's through several failures that you get stronger and better than you would have been if you had achieved it the first time. I've learned so much in my setbacks and in my challenges. And I've used this example, even wrote about it in my book, Choose Strong, the year that I won Badwater as opposed to the year in 2018, the few years before, when I really believed that I was going to win it. I learned a lot in that 3-year span about myself. And the thing is I was just as uncomfortable and had just as many, if not more challenges than I did in 2018, but my mind was bulletproof. Mm-hmm. I learned so much about my brain because of the setback that I had in 2018. Those 3 years of building taught me a lot. Invaluable. And that was what was invaluable to me was I did the 200s. Mm-hmm. So remember that the lessons that you learn in those failures, that you continue to build upon those things because you show yourself, I went through that, I failed, I got back up, and I did it again and again and again. I know there's nothing, no matter how challenging it is, that is brought my way that I cannot overcome because I've failed too many times and have gotten back up after each one to know that I'm going to be okay. So that's the good word for 2025. That's how we're kicking off this podcast today, Ed.
All right. So you said you like to make a plan.
Make a plan.
And then the second
Write it out, whether you do it physically in a journal. I mean, look at me. Look at you guys. Today, I finally have brought my sketchbook. I just get the basic sketchbook at Barnes & Noble, your local bookshop. I think you get these at Walmart, Target. I don't know. Nothing fancy about it. But I fill 1 to 2 of these every year. I write a plan. But the thing is I refine my plan. So I've been writing a plan of what I want to do for 2025 since the end of October, maybe
Nice.
September. And I'm almost done with it, what I want to do. I plan my steps. I think about it. I pray about it. And I'm very thoughtful about what it is that I want to achieve and how I'm going to go about it. And I think about all the obstacles, right? So plan what it is that you want to do, plan for the challenges, and make a list of encouraging words that you can keep up at your forefront every single day when you wake up in the morning, just to remind you of what it is that you're doing. Because those goals are worth it. So yeah, plan.
I like that.
Plan. And what were you gonna say? You're gonna follow up with that.
No, I
Sorry.
was just asking the second part after you make a plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah. What was the end of the year, Spotify Wrapped, right? Like they always have
Oh,
this is
my
what you listen
goodness.
to. But before I get into like yours, and I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
but the podcast,
Amazing.
just blown away. Pretty sweet
Blown
to
away.
see how many people have listened this past year.
Yeah, we grew by 83%.
It's pretty amazing
This year. And I think that really blew us away. And it was
Yeah.
just fun to see all the people sharing that in their stories. Thank you to everyone that took a moment to tag us.
Yes, thank you.
And share us. I think one of my favorite achievements was just seeing how our podcast has reached out far beyond the running community,
Yeah.
which has always been a goal of mine. I don't think you need to be a runner to listen to our podcast. We often talk about it as a parallel to life, a metaphor to life, and through stories. And but my hope was that it would reach beyond that, and to see how it's lined up. And we were in the charts quite a bit, in the health and fitness charts. That's the genre that I like to lean into. It isn't just running. We kind of place our podcast into the health and fitness, which is mind, body, soul kind of category. And there was a lot of growth, but we couldn't do that without our listeners. So thank you so
thank
much.
you for listening.
It really meant a lot to us.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
But yours, you always get your individualized one too. And I wanted to point out, because my you know how it does like top 5 or whatever it is, like
Right.
Artists that you listen to. Mine
Yes.
was Lecrae, and which was interesting because Lecrae is a rapper, and he is the guy that we listen to when we go to Mackenzie's races. Like when Mackenzie's in the car, she's like, "Let's turn on Lecrae. I need to get hyped. I need to get pumped for my race." And so we bump some Lecrae for the drive. And I just thought it was so interesting that was like my top, out of all the music that I listened to, that was my top for 2024. And maybe I was just listening to it because I thought of her when she was moved away, and I listened to it quite a bit in the summer there. But I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. What was yours?
I love that.
What was your top? Do you remember what your top one was?
I was surprised by it. Here's the thing with my Spotify Wrapped. My Spotify account is attached to all of the Alexas in our house. So when our kids want to play music in the kitchen, when you want to play music in the kitchen, it's like a compilation of, sometimes it's stuff that isn't even in my playlist or anything that I would listen to. But our whole family loves Coldplay.
Yeah.
And so that, even though that was, I do listen to Coldplay. It wasn't like the number one thing I listened to. It's always in my playlist, but Mackenzie loves Coldplay.
Yeah.
Isaiah loves it. I know you love it. So that was my number one.
Oh, that's cool.
And friends, guess what? Eddie blessed me with a Christmas present this year. He is taking me to a Coldplay concert in June, which is also our anniversary month, our 23rd anniversary. Or is it 24?
I think it's 20.
No, it's 23.
23.
Yeah.
Wait.
I don't know. We've been together for almost 30 years.
Yeah,
so.
in my head I was like, okay, how can I pull off a anniversary gift and a Christmas gift all at once? Like,
yeah.
All right, let's do something for Christmas, but in June. Boom. Nailed it. Good
job,
Eddie.
Yeah.
Smart.
I was not expecting that at all.
move.
And he included it with a vinyl. So in our move, we've always talked about getting a record player.
Yeah.
And Eddie and I we love music. I have strong appreciation for so many different genres. So in the morning, Eddie's usually listening to some classical or jazz or piano. We love Tony Anderson. I love
Yeah.
Hammock and Sleeping at Last
Oh,
and
yes.
Isaac Shepard.
On
And
my Spotify Wrapped also, I
yeah,
think like my number 4 was someone I had the song, the person I didn't
yeah,
even know who it was.
same. I
And
had someone that I'd never
I
heard of.
looked it up. And so I play Tony Anderson radio on Spotify
Oh, okay.
and like every day
Mm,
almost,
yeah,
and
he's
for
amazing.
hours. And
Hmm.
that song is in that like playlist. And that artist, I can't remember what artist it was, but that's how many times I listened to that like radio, because that played apparently like all year. I was like, oh,
I
all
love
right.
that. Shout out to Tony Anderson, who
Shout
I
out.
just learned is in LA.
Yes.
We've been listening to Tony Anderson the last few years. Drew Darby introduced him to us when he
Mhm.
included a couple of his songs in the Choose Strong film,
Yeah.
which is that sits on the BPN, Bear
BPN.
Performance Media
Yeah.
YouTube channel. So that was from 2022. And that has Tony Anderson soundtracks in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it happened. It's just small world. I've used Tony Anderson soundtracks a lot, like in my reels and stuff on social media.
Yeah.
And one of the reels went viral. It had, I don't know, it was like 1.5 million views pretty quick. And it was a Tony Anderson song. I think it was called In the Distance or The King. I can't remember which song it is. And Tony Anderson commented. I remember sending a message to Drew and be like, did you see Tony Anderson commented on our reel? Because Drew had shot the reel. He edited it, sent it to me. I posted it. And it's very beautiful. Running on this mountain ridge up at Mount Baldy here in my local mountain. And I, made like a comment back or something like that. And then from that point on, we've always like left little comments, here and there. And at one point during the Mammoth training, and we released some episodes and stuff, and then in the lead up to the release of the Mammoth film, I had made a comment and tagged Tony, and I said, well, in 2025, I want to collaborate with Tony for my 2025 film. I would love for him to do the soundtrack. And he's like,
so
yes,
rad.
let's go. So I got Tony's most recent vinyl. I love records so much. The music experience, being able to hold that thing in your hand, and especially for us, we grew up with records, and then it was CDs and, we had cassette tapes, all the things. We've seen music change so much in the 4 decades that we have been here. And so getting Tony's vinyl was so special, but he included a handwritten note. And he said, we gotta grab steaks. He's like, if you guys are ever in LA, let's grab some steaks. And I was like, excuse
Do
me,
it. Let's do it.
how did I not know that we're only 50 kilometers away from each other? Because had I known that earlier, but anyway, we'll need to bring up, we'll need to bring Tony down to our place. And connect with him. So shout out to Tony. If listeners, if you have not listened to Tony Anderson, he is it's kind of soundtrack based music. I think his songs have been in some big blockbuster films and shows and things like that. It's beautiful music. It's great music to write to if you're studying, researching, if you just want to turn down the lights in the evening and make a meal, and it's great background music. It's just so lovely. It's very, very relaxing, but it's usually playing in our house at some point. Sometimes I run to it. I love running to that type of music too, especially if I am in the middle of writing. I like to run and write in my head, and I'll listen to Tony Anderson. So big ups for that. But it does make me laugh that you had a artist in your top 5, because I had someone in my top 5. I had no idea who it was, but I think it was for the same reason. It was probably played in a radio station. So
so funny.
Spotify Wrapped.
Spotify Wrapped. Yeah, it is kind of cool.
This episode is brought to you by Lumi. It's officially vacation season, my friends. In fact, I'm really excited to head out to Flagstaff with my daughter. But do you want to know who's not invited along? Body odor. And that's because no matter where I go, I always bring Lumi whole body deodorant with me. It keeps me smelling fresh from head to toe. And did you know that it is clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours. I could basically fly all the way to Singapore and still smell fresh for landing. Now, I'll tell you what, I have been using the body wash and the deodorant. I love this stuff, especially because I'm outside all day and I have been traveling nonstop since Western States 100. So this is a must for me. And the cool thing is, too, they have it in travel size for a travel bag. Check out Lumi. We are doing a special starter pack. It's perfect for new customers. We got a special discount, too. But this starter pack, it comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our Choose Strong listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off the starter pack. So use code SALLY, SALLY, for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code SALLY at LumiDeodorant.com.
All right, I'm going to move on, Sal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read a Instagram message from Tiffany. And she wanted to, she gave a little love to the Choose Strong podcast. She said, "Hey, Eddie and Sally, I'm Tiffany from Alaska. And I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for your podcast. I recently started listening to you two on my daily walks and while I'm in my studio painting. Your words always inspire me, make me laugh, and they give me hope. You two are just so darn fun and relatable to listen to. Real people talk. I used to be a runner. I love the trails. I've accomplished many races and ultras in my short little running career, but unfortunately, the neuropathy in my feet have slowed me down. But walking has saving me, and it's so important to get outside and move, even if I'm just walking. So for that, I'm thankful. Your podcast brightens my day when I'm out on my daily walkabouts in snowy dark, and it's 20 below here up north. Thank you. Keep them coming, please. Much love and happiest of holidays, Tiffany." 20 below.
20 below.
She's
Where
out walking.
is she from?
She's in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Alaska. Because I was going to say, if it was Canada, I'm like, okay, is that Celsius then? But I wonder if she's referring to 20 below Fahrenheit.
That's
and
pretty nasty.
that is wild. Do you remember when we lived
wild.
in Bend and the difference between just 20 degrees and then even just 5 degrees colder?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a whole nother layer of clothing you need, right?
20 below.
20 below, also in Alaska.
I can't even mentally go
and
there.
in the dark. I mean, so inspired.
And in the dark, yeah.
Tiffany, very inspired. Well
Very
done.
inspired.
Thank you for sending that in, Tiffany. We love hearing from our listeners, and that just that lit a fire under me,
right?
Because I've just been head down working on the house so much. Thinking about consistent workouts in the cold has not crossed my mind, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, so
that's encouraging.
And she listens to the podcast while she's in her studio painting. That's kind of cool.
I love the painting.
Yeah, that's cool.
A painting studio.
A painting studio. Okay, so I thought that was a cool little review. All right, I'm going to move on now to, I got 2 highlights for some of our listeners. And the first one is Josephine. Now, Josephine wrote a pretty cool post in the Facebook group. Josephine says, "I've been hesitant to post here because y'all are such athletes and accomplished runners, and I'm not. But yesterday, I did something I'm really proud of. I ran a 25K trail race that really challenged me. There's a significant physical challenge, but mentally, it was just as hard. I'm a slow runner, and I completely lost the pack in the first mile. Then proceeded to get passed by a good number of 15K runners who gained the 30-minute head start I had over them. The last 7.5-ish miles, I was completely alone except for the course sweepers behind me. I've only run road races before, and I'm used to having at least some company in my pace group. At the low moments, I thought, why did I train so hard to be so bad at this? But I reminded myself that I am running my race. I chose to do something really hard for me. I focused on the story I wanted to tell about how hard I worked and how I pushed through the discomfort and the self-doubt. And I finished dead last by a wide margin, but I'm grateful for what my body can do, and I'm proud of what I achieved. And at least now I know that I'm up against, or now I know what I'm up against because I'm doing another one in 5 weeks. And she has a picture of herself. It looks like she's crying, and she's holding up her 25K medal.
Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I want to see that picture.
Yeah.
Let me check that out. Aw, I love that. Thank you so much. It's Josephine.
Josephine, yeah.
Josephine, thank you for sharing that story. That's really, really encouraging. She said something that stuck out to me, and that was, why did I train so hard to be so bad at this?
Yeah.
And that just really hits the nail on the head as to what I was saying earlier, how often when we are working toward a goal that we feel like that.
Yeah.
It's, oh my gosh, I worked so hard and I am not good at this. And then the feelings attached to that are, I'm not good enough. I feel lame. Like, this is embarrassing. And why am I out here? I'm not made for, all of that comes in. And it's just the truth is, and that's where we have to shift our perspective. We have to shift our focus onto what is good and true. And what is good and true is that you got out there.
Mm-hmm.
One day you believed long before this race, one day you believed that you could achieve that. That is why you pulled up the registration form.
Yep.
That is why you hit that submit button and you paid the fee. That is why you put on your shoes every single day and did the training. That's why you stood on the start line. I mean, all of those things should be celebrated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The challenges and the discomfort, the pain, it is part of it. And once we understand that, that's actually how we get better. Embrace it. Mm-hmm. Because every time you show up in the challenge, every time you show up in the discomfort, and when it doesn't feel right and doesn't feel good, you want to focus not so much on the feelings, but actually the truth of what it is that you're doing. And if your goal, what is factual, is that I am making my way to the finish line, I am making my way to achieving what I set out to do. Focus on that, and not so much on my feet hurt, it's too cold, or I feel slow, or the feelings often they cloud what is good about what we are doing. They cloud the truth of what a journey looks like. A journey is going to be uncomfortable. A journey will be hard. There will be challenges. It's always worth it, though.
Yeah.
Always worth it. So well done, Josephine. Thank you for sharing such a real, raw story. It's encouraged all of us who got to hear about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, she posted that in the Facebook group, so you guys can go and check that out if you're not in there. It's there's some cool stories that are always posted in there of people like Josephine doing some cool stuff, and it's always an encouragement to get, go and read through that stuff. So, Josephine, well done. Props to you, and good luck in the next one. She said 5 weeks later she got another race. Love it. All right, last one is also in the Facebook group. Matthew, he said, we did it. I completed my first ultra. My father-in-law did his first trail race, 10K. He's 66. My mother-in-law, my wife, and my daughter attempted the 5K, but didn't complete it because my mother-in-law fell and had to be escorted back. But all scans are clear and she was fine. The night before, I gave everybody a yellow handkerchief along with the pre-race speech inspired by this group, speaking of the Facebook group, and by Sally. I told everybody that we are all going to have to choose to be strong tomorrow in some aspect. Take the scarf on the race course with you and remind you of how strong you are. And guess what? We all battled something. My mother-in-law fell, so my father-in-law had to finish his race and come back on the trail to get my wife and my daughter. My wife is 18 weeks pregnant, and my daughter she's 3. And guess what else? It rained the entire time. Well, 90% of it. And it was cold. I battled running my first ultra, and my crew basically blowing up and relying on the help of the aid station personnel. I'm so thankful for them. Guess what happened this evening? My wife and my mother-in-law both signed up for a local 5K next month. They are literally choosing to be strong the day after setback. I'm going to walk alongside them with our daughter and my father-in-law, and he's going to do the 10K. Our words have the potential to inspire people in ways that we can't expect. Also, I had the best person hand me my medal, and it was his daughter handing him the medal. So he's got a couple cool pictures. And but anyways, Matthew, well done getting out there with your pretty much your whole family and completed your first ultra.
I love it. Oh,
Pretty
what an
exciting.
inspiration, Matthew. Thank you for sharing that story. It
Yeah,
just
that's a cool
really
story.
warms my heart just on every level. The whole family out there. The yellow bandanas are just,
Yeah,
come
that's
on
cool.
now. That's amazing. And this is, I love the group efforts
Yeah.
because there's so many cool stories that come out of that. And and they are going to have these memories to talk about for many, many
That's what I was just gonna
years.
think. You got the memories, right? They're built-in
Hmm.
memories that you guys were all out there together. You're
Yeah.
always gonna remember. I'm glad she's fine, but that she fell and
Yeah.
that I finished, and yeah,
All the
it's
pieces.
that's pretty cool.
That's
So
so precious. Thank you,
yes,
for reading those to us.
Matthew, well done. Thanks for
Hmm.
sharing that with the group. All right,
Hmm.
Sal.
Yeah. So, recently on Christmas Day, so it's been 2 days now,
Yeah.
we finally released our film, The Mammoth.
Yes.
And we can finally say that, yes, this is a race. This is
Yeah.
going to be a race in September of 2025. And very thrilled for Tim Tollefson, who has been building up the Mammoth Trail Fest for the last 3 years. This route has been a dream route for him. He and his wife, Lindsay, have made a home for themselves out in the Eastern Sierra for almost 15 years. And they love the community. They love creating community. They love training out there. They're both incredible athletes. And so this film, which we worked on for a long time, there's a lot of different pieces to it. I think that I tried a lot of new things this
Yeah.
year. And I would say that by many accounts, a lot of things that I did not pan out the way that I hoped they would. We had some challenges, some painful events. A lot of it just had to do with just relationships and people that you work with, people that and it's just, I feel like that is many times the hardest part of what we do. It isn't always necessarily like the challenges I might face in a long run. That's easy. Finishing a workout, that's easy in comparison to, having to work through challenges within a group or with other companies or relationships or in family or in friendships, and so the Mammoth came in on so many different levels that were new for me. One of them was that, which I'm really proud of for this, is just that Eddie and I fully funded it. We wrote up 7 contracts. We were able to give jobs to 7 people. And that's a big deal. We created the McCrae Media LLC, which is super cool. We really love and enjoy putting out content, storytelling. The goal with everything that we do is to encourage others. And that's really what I wanted to do with this film, was to tell Tim's story about a dream that he had, and exposing this route that will be set into place, but exposing the beauty of that area. What I learned along the way was, I gave a lot of time to being out there. I think we added up, it was about 30 days that I spent out in Mammoth by myself, and that was hard, especially the long days that I spent doing it. A really key point in the actual attempt was that I didn't have like a taper. This was just, I was out every single day in the mountains, and then the crew showed up to do their job. And it was almost shocking to me. I had moments where I was like, whoa, I'm not used to all these people around. And the Mammoth Trail Fest was happening too. So it was like, I went from long, lonely days, day after day after day, all by myself in the mountains. And then boom, it was just all these people. And kind of, having a lot of good conversations with myself in the mountains about the year that I was having, some challenges that I was facing, areas that I wanted to grow, things that I was trying that, kind of like our friend Josephine, it's like, wow, I'm trying this and I'm not really good at it. And I can do better. And I think looking back, I'm like, there's a lot of things that I can do better in 2025. And it excites me. My initial response to everything, I think it's wise that I always pay attention to my initial reaction and response to everything that I do, because that's where I learn about myself. That's how I can, I can grow. And I think that, I learned a lot being quiet in the mountains every single day, using that time just to think, to pray, to meditate about things that I know I can do better, and how I want to go about things in 2025, and where I'm going too, because this is a really interesting time, I think, in my life. 10 years with Nike, competing in this sport for almost 15 years. April 2025 will mark 15 years of being in trail running for me. And but then I look at all the pieces of what it is that we do with our app, with the books, speaking, our podcasts, our YouTube channels, the documentaries that we put out, and really just wanting to be better in all of that. And I think that when we released this film on Christmas Day, I remember looking and being like,
A big sigh.
oh my gosh, it was like, it's done. It's done. It was a long year. The work is finally finished. Drew Darby was the one who edited it. He did a beautiful job as always. Always does great work. Very, very grateful for that. We had, like I said, we had 7 contracts that we put out, just all these amazing creators. We had Billy and Hillary out there helping us pace, and they were running with cameras and, offering support. And then of course it was you, Ed, kind of shouldering the hardest part of all, because we had no aid stations, no markers. And so Eddie was the revolving aid station for everybody out there. And then also just shouldering my stress and sleep deprivation and, figuring things out on the fly. The goal with the Mammoth Film was I did not want to highlight my actual attempt. Like, I didn't want to really hone in on what I was experiencing. I really wanted to hone in on Tim's story, showcasing the route, the beauty of that area. And if we were going to sprinkle in or highlight anything, it was just that the collective experience we all had out there together in the mountains and what that brings. I think what I kept on pinching myself for, though, was my mindset about the distance I was running. It never was something that was a concern or a thought or felt big to me, which is so really weird. Odd.
Yeah.
I think that I had a moment. It was really only interactions with you, Eddie, where I would say to you, I go, it's really weird to not be so concerned with this distance.
Yeah.
To not really I hope I complete it. And I was like, it took me so many years to be like that with hundreds. Yeah. Like, if I had to step away from the chair right now and go run 100 miles, I know I could. I know I could do that distance. And I think because this was the 5th time that I did 200 plus miles in 11 months.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It was still so fresh in my mind. It was one of the reasons why Tim reached out to me. He's like, dude, you just did 4 200s. Like, do you want to do another one?
Yeah. He knows you can go the distance. I thought it was funny too. In one of the lines, I think it was early in the film where, Tim's talking about the route and stuff. And he said something like, yeah, we just came up and now we got this small 200-mile loop.
Yeah.
I was like,
he was talking to me.
200-mile loop.
He'd been in too many conversations with me.
Whenever you can describe the 200-mile loop as small, that's you must run a couple hundreds and 200s.
In our post-attempt discussions, and Eddie is like my greatest sounding board, and I value Eddie's constructive criticism more than anyone on the planet. And so, I remember him telling me you probably could have done a better job, letting people know all the details about the course, earlier in advance, because the day before I was just rattling off every section of the course, oh yeah, and then we'll go here, and then you pass through here, and then this is volcanic, and this is obsidian, and then we're up by the lakes. And he's like, it was so overwhelming because you were talking about it like it was your living room.
Yeah, I remember talking to Tyler the next day. I'm like, dude, she said for 45 minutes every detail about and I don't remember anything. Tyler's like, yeah, dude, I have no clue what she was talking about. But you were able to rattle off everything because you were so familiar with it.
And I can see it. I'm a very visual person, and I have these snapshots in my mind. And so as I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, and then we'll hit this and this and this and this and this. And it was just, I had made that my home for so long.
Yeah.
I lived in it. I breathed it every single day. Just in answering some of the questions that had been coming in, we didn't even put the stats up in the film. And that was another layer that I had discussed with you too. I go, that's just not important because there was no medal, no aid stations, no course markers. But for those of you curious minds, because stats are fun, they are fun. I did put it in the description of the film,
Yeah.
just because I knew it would come in through the comments or in other places, and it's like if it's there, we'll just leave it there. But it was 76 hours in 1 minute. It was 202 miles and 33,000 feet of climbing. And
Small little loop. Yep.
just a small,
Small
yeah,
little
just a
200.
small little loop. But because of the format and because of all the training that I was doing and leading up to it, I needed to run it conservatively.
Yeah.
I had also chosen not to sleep, which I wouldn't advise again. I think that in my mind, I was thinking, I knew I could do it in under 70 hours, but I did not pay attention to the fact that I had no taper, no rest. Like I didn't do any of that. So
Yeah.
I think if I would have been rested going in, if I would have had like a proper, build up and come down and then go into the attempt, like not sleeping would have been fine. And I think there's a little bit of research out there that if you can get in under 72 hours, you actually can go on like extremely little to no sleep and complete these 200s. Everyone's different, so you do have to experiment. I have tried every sleep strategy there is. That was the beauty of doing 5 in 11 months. I've
Yeah.
tried everything. And so, dirt naps are great, but sometimes there's something to be said about that 90-minute, I'm going to sleep for 90 minutes.
Yep.
And then you pass people that were 20 miles ahead of you. It's
Yeah.
wild. Sleep is very powerful. So I think overlooking that, it did slow me down quite a bit because I just struggled so much with the hallucinations. But I was well aware of it because I'd done so many before. And I went in knowing that, like, at some point, just keep on telling yourself, like, okay, that's not real. Check in with everyone. But I think it was just coming in and out of the hallucinations. Like, am I hallucinating? No, I'm not hallucinating. No,
Yeah.
I am hallucinating. So, Drew put a little bit of that in the film, which is it's kind of funny to chuckle about. But once I got food in me and I slept, I was fine. But here's the thing. Here's something fun that we are going to do for our listeners. So Eddie and I are going to be doing a fun giveaway, and these giveaways will be sent out in January 2025. So to help you get motivated and excited about 2025, we are going to be giving out 10 gift packages from yours truly, Eddie and Sally McRae. And this is all that you have to do is watch the film and leave us a review right there in the comments and just screenshot it. All you got to do is send that. You can send it through our Instagram DMs. You can also mail it to us, so through email. And you can also send it through, what was the other way? Those are actually the two best ways, either the email or the Instagram messages. So you have until, I think it was January 2nd.
Yes.
It's a full week. Is that the full week?
Yeah.
So
January
today is
2nd,
the 27th,
Thursday.
and it'll go out. Well, if this doesn't release for a few days, let's do January 3rd. So it's we're at the 27th. No, let's do January 6th, because if this is going to be released on
Probably Monday.
in 2 days,
So,
that'll give them a
do
full
the
week.
6th.
So you have until January 6th.
January 6th.
Watch the film. Leave a comment there in the film, and yeah.
Okay. January 6th.
We'd love to hear from you.
Is.
And we will be sending out some good
Little gift
packages
pack.
to motivate you. The film, the reason why I would love for you to watch the film is because it is based on a dream and making plans, putting those plans into place, the training and the work that went into it, and then crossing that finish line as a team. And so we hope that the film inspires you. It motivates you to do the same in 2025.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Sal, you just posted on your Instagram. Wanted to ask you, don't confuse movement with progress. Let's chat. Let's chat about that. What did you mean by that?
I think sometimes we can fill our days with a lot of tasks
Yeah.
that make us feel like we're productive, that make us feel like we are doing good work, but when you stand back and evaluate it, I am definitely talking to myself here. I've had
I
to
was going
learn
to say,
this
because
so many times. This is why I love
thought you were
sharing
talking to
this.
me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm just curious.
I think we
what are
can all
chatting
do
about?
this though.
Yeah.
I think it's stepping back, and you can do this even, in your sketchbook. Write out what it is that you do on a daily, weekly basis. And generally speaking, I'm not talking about your neighbor came over and asked you to like help pick weeds or mow the lawn for them. Like that's really good work.
Yeah.
I think we should be serving each other, but I'm more talking about sometimes we fill our days with things that actually aren't helping us progress forward in our goals. Sometimes we are doing things that are actually holding us back, are clouding our view, or are absolutely unhealthy for us. It's when you task yourself with checking your screen time, how much time you spent on social media at the end of the day. Have you ever done that for a week? It's very eye-opening when you're like, oh my gosh, I spent 3 hours, or I spent this much time watching Netflix. And I'm not saying any of those things, like this isn't putting anyone down for any of those things, but it's evaluating the time spent on those things. It's not being purposeful with that time, because, Eddie and I, we've talked about this before. It's like social media, being online, that's a big part of our job. That's how we can reach and encourage and interact with people. So it's not negative. It's how we interact with it. How long are we on it? What is the purpose? Is there a purpose and a focus every time that we're on it, right? If I have a favorite show on Netflix, but then I end up like sitting on the couch for 6 hours, like scrolling after, and then pretty soon that becomes a routine, like that isn't always healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like trying to find like just a better balance in all of that. So now relating this to our work and into goals, all of that was a little more, lighthearted, superficial. But like, I think that when we take this into our professional lives, are we actually doing things on a daily basis that is allowing us to achieve all that was meant for us, that is really good work that's propelling us forward in life? And it's not uncommon. I think that for some of our listeners, this idea of I feel stuck. I feel like I am on a hamster wheel. And that was the other part of the reel. It's like you're either moving forward or you're on a hamster wheel. Now, I speak very much from personal experience in this. I've been there several times in my life where I'm not actually moving forward, but I am comfortable. And I'm afraid of stepping off the hamster wheel because it's uncomfortable. Because I know that if I step off this hamster wheel, I take steps forward in an area that I'm not confident in, where I don't know how things will end up, where maybe it's requiring me to get out of my comfort zone. It's requiring me to learn something new. But all of those uncomfortable scenarios are the only way that I can get to what I actually genuinely want, what I truly want to achieve. And sometimes it's like, I want to give my kids a better life, a better, opportunity, but that is going to require me to do A, B, and C. And I don't want to do that, and it's like, you and I had this discussion many times. Sometimes it's just where you put your focus. Why are you doing something? What is the end goal? Well, if your end goal is like, I just want to be able to benefit this other, my family, like, man, that's good work right there, and I want to achieve this goal because I know it's going to allow me to do what I've dreamed of from the time I was a little kid. Or I just want to experience that because that's something I've always, I think of someone that wants to run their first marathon. That seems super overwhelming if you've only ever done a 5K, and I know you've talked to people all the time, like, I will never run a marathon. I'm not built for that. There's just no way. There's no way. It's like, have you ever tried? No. Well, how do you know? And the middle part of what you know right now and what you dream of doing or what you actually think isn't possible, but you see everyone else doing, that middle part is so uncomfortable. You'll never know unless you try. You'll never know unless you step off the hamster wheel. And this is an area in my life that I always have to work on. So this is definitely it's very humbling for me all the time. Is I sit down a few times a year and I actually write down on a piece of paper the work that I'm doing right now. And I then ask myself, what's all the good in that? What is the end result that I want? And is that something that I want to continue doing in the future?
Mm.
I also pay attention to who I'm aligning with, the people that I'm actually working with. Is this a healthy environment? Are we pouring into each other? Are we encouraging each other? Are we building each other up? Or is there jealousy and animosity? Is there a power struggle here? Is there people taking advantage of each other? Is there, you know what I mean? Is there a huge imbalance of work? If I am bringing my work ethic at a level 10 and I'm bringing my best effort all the time, but yet I'm bringing people into my circle who only ever give like a level 4, who aren't as passionate, they don't really care, and they're just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good work? You know, am I going to progress and am I going to grow? And some of these conversations that I have with myself, those are very revealing and they're very uncomfortable because sometimes I don't want to admit that.
Yeah.
I don't want to admit that I'm not doing good work, or that I'm wasting my time, or that like there is no end game in what I'm doing, or that maybe work that I'm doing is totally selfish and self-centered and self-promoting. You know, it's what's the good, valuable work that I'm doing that is actually going to lead me to something greater. And a lot of times that's the hardest work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's mundane. It takes a lot of patience. It's really getting into the grind day in, day out. And it's like the finish line is really far away. And it just feels like, oh, can I patiently push through this? Well, it's even harder because we live in a very instant gratifying society right now. And when we can't instantly gratify ourselves, when we can't get to where we want to be within 20 days, 30 days, I mean, those are very short time frames, but that's what we're used to. Everything happening so quickly and seeing results so quickly. There's a shortcut to almost everything now.
And that's why those resolutions fail.
Yeah. And
Desire
it's
for that quick change.
Yeah. How can we get to a place where we understand that patient hard work is where we actually get to our best self? Because it is in those quiet hours that we also have to be forced to see who we are.
Yeah.
And think about who we are and how we do things. We have to be truthful and honest with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something I'm always needing to work on. Mm-hmm. Is I have to work on patience. I have to work at being positive. I have to work on self-control and consistency and discipline and giving my best effort all the time. That's not easy. That just doesn't come naturally. I had a recent conversation with somebody who it was so interesting. This is not the first time that someone has said this to me, but they're like, you're an overnight success, Sally. And what this person was referring to is in 2021, when at the same time I launched our podcast, the app, and I was like halfway through finishing my book. I had won Badwater. It was all these like things at once. And I chuckled to myself because in my mind, that's not a thing for me. Mm-hmm. That's just not true. I am not an overnight success. I actually don't believe anyone is an overnight success. It's just that you were not, or everyone else was not a part of the plan.
Yeah.
Everyone else was not a part of the building. And here's the thing too. I don't always put on social media what I'm building. I don't always share what I'm working on. I don't always bring people into all of the work and the effort and the behind the scenes in every single project that I'm doing. Sometimes it's just released. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that when I was 18, that was the first time that I stood before a large audience and I spoke. I have been public speaking since I was 18. I'm 45 now. It was only last year that I got signed onto a speaking management roster. Mm. That's a long time, but I have traveled all over the world speaking since I was 18 years old. So starting a podcast, that's not brand new for me to speak. It's not brand new for me to share real life experiences and to do what I have always loved doing from the time I was 18. My greatest desire has just been to encourage other people. I love that. I know that's why I'm here. It's a big part of my purpose in life.
Yeah.
The app is the other thing that's really funny. People think that's just an overnight success. It isn't. I started my fitness business in 2007. I started sharing videos and pictures and tutorials as soon as social media was a thing. Like when it was really popular. So I'm talking like 2009 that I have been sharing that stuff. So making it an app, no, I never, ever, ever stopped working on that. And winning Badwater, I mean, that was 2021. I got signed in 2014. I actually dreamed about Badwater all the way back in 2009, 2010. So these are things that, because I don't post about them, because I don't bring lots of other people into it, sure, it's easy to say that all that happened overnight, but that's just not true. It's decades of work.
Yeah, as you're sharing that, it's, obviously I've seen the background, and I've seen it, that it's been a grind for years and years and years. I was thinking of Aaron Rodgers. I was watching, he's got a Netflix, like 3-part series, like a documentary. And, he's a great example of that, because he's one of the best quarterbacks probably of all time. Well, he's up there.
He's amazing.
He's in the conversation. And obviously he's in his 40s now, and he hasn't had a great year, but he's still grinding. But anyways, he
still getting that contract.
But he was. But the point is, he was not drafted out of high school. Like, he was a high school quarterback, and he went to Butte College. He couldn't play D1. He wasn't quite at that caliber, and he eventually got a D1 scholarship after playing at Butte, and after he got overlooked a lot, and then he thought he was going to go to the NFL, and thought he was going to go top 10, but he didn't go top 10, and so he just had this. He had to grind, and he talked a lot about where that really fired him up, where he was looked over, and nobody wanted him for the D1 level. So he's like, I'm going to show them that they missed out. And he was just putting in the extra work, and, watching film and getting stronger, and, and now he's one of the best, so he was not an overnight success, and most athletes aren't, right?
I don't know in any industry where someone is.
Yeah, I was thinking of musicians and bands, right? They've been around for 20 years, but they just got on the scene because they have this huge hit. And it was like, oh, where these guys come from? And you follow, go back. It's like they've been putting out records and albums for 15 years, but just in smaller venues, and they just finally made it or got big, right? But they've been putting in the work for years to get to that point.
And for many, when I think about athletes, it's that dream that started when they were kids. I mean, Mackenzie is a great example I like to refer to, especially for our youth listeners. She has been racing competitively since she was 8. She's been in this game for almost 11 years. She'll be 19 in March. She's 18 right now. And this is the first season. So she and all the freshmen at NEU, they all redshirted this year. And I said to her one day, I was like, I'm actually like so happy that you get a little break from the pressures of racing competitively. You haven't had that in like 10 years. Like, and she's like, yeah, I'm actually really excited. I can just use this season to grow, to build, to get stronger, to get better. And I'm like, man, what a mindset to have at 18. Like she blows me away all the time. But it's, the thing is, Mackenzie 18, and I've reminded her this in her low times, I'll tell her, I was like, Kenz, I'm your mama. And like, I'm still racing competitively. I'm in my 40s. You're a teenager. You have a long road ahead of you. Cause it is something that she would like to do after college. She would like to run as a career. And I don't know what's in store for her life, but it's very easy when we are in a storm, when we're in the middle of a challenge, to feel like you're losing hope because it's so hard, or it's just like no one's noticing, and sometimes it's how we gauge things too, is how much are people going to notice? How much recognition are we getting? And what's the medal that's in return? And I think the older that I've gotten, I realize, no, what is a really good practice is to quietly put your head down and just do your work. And then one day just say, here's the product. Here it is. It's when a new athlete comes onto the scene and they like get on the podium at Western States, everyone's like, who is this? And it's like, no. They didn't just start running yesterday.
Yeah.
When you dig in and you really like understand someone's life. So we don't all have the opportunity to know the ins and outs of someone's life. And I think this is where this comment comes from a lot. Is like, wow, it's amazing, like what you've built in the last few years. It's not in the last few years. But the reality is that we can't base what we know about people off of social media. You just can't.
Mm-mm.
And I think there is something very wise and discerning about not putting everything that you're doing and everything that you're working on out into the world. Focus not on how other people are going to receive it and what their comments are, whether or not they're going to praise you for it, and if they're going to encourage you, and maybe the critiques that are going to come out, but just focus on doing good work. If you believe in it and you love it and you know that there is something good that's going to come out of it, you do not need to focus on what people think of it or what their opinions are. You do not need the approval of other people in order to work on a goal. That is something that is unfortunately focused on too much. And I've talked to athletes about this, and I've just talked to people that are working, outside of the sports world who think, well, I don't know what people are going to think or how people are going to receive it. And I say, well, how do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that you're doing it? Why do you believe in this? Why is it that you love this? What is the outcome that you desire? Because if you are going to focus so much on the reactions of others and their opinions and the critiques and whether or not they're going to like you or value you more because you're doing this, you will always, always be disappointed. You will always feel empty in that because it's impossible to please all people.
Mm-hmm.
We're all imperfect, and everyone has their own opinions, and everyone has different things that they like and they don't like. And, I get comments every now and then. I mean, I got one the other day. I screenshot, I sent it to you, and someone, they just told me outright why they don't follow me anymore. I don't follow you anymore because you talk about this and this. And, and I don't like that. And I thought, I kind of smiled and I thought, that's how I know I'm doing good work because I stick to the things that I believe in, to the things that I love. And I think that's a mark of doing good work. Like, unless you are met with some adversity and critics and opinions, are you really living true? Are you really living true to who you are and what you believe in? And that's part of the journey, the adversity and the challenges. But just kind of reiterating that it's okay to be quiet in your work. We don't need the affirmation of strangers, of social media, of the public at large, to do good work and to show up every day and be committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really beautiful. And I think sometimes musical artists are like this. Like, all of a sudden they're talking about this album that's going to be releasing, but little did we know they started working on it 4 years ago. They've been quietly crafting the lyrics and each instrument and how it's going to play. And they've been in the studio and they've just been toiling over this. And really all you're seeing is the marketing of something that was built so long ago. And I think that's what happened when we did the podcast and the app and, the book and winning, Badwater. It was like that. None of that was overnight. There's a lot of sweat and tears and hard, grinding, quiet work that I know is so important to do away from the lens, away from the fishbowl. And I think that's how we get the best out of ourselves. We are way too distracted. And I speak as someone who is very easily, naturally distracted. That's just the brain that I was created with. And so that's something I have to work extra hard on. Eddie, you know what I ordered yesterday? You'd be so proud of me. I ordered a Pomera keyboard. It's just like a little typewriter type. You can't get online. There's no social media. There's just nothing. It's just the screen and the keys so that I can just write just that. And I said, that is what my brain needs. There's another brand is called Free Write. For any of our listeners who are writers or who need to, whether you're a copywriter or you journal or you blog post or anything, and you find that being on your laptop is a great rough distraction for you, look up a Pre-Write and Pomera. The Pomera keyboard that I got actually is from Japan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a Japanese product, and I'm so excited about it. But that is going to allow me to once again just be totally focused on writing and not everything else is going on. So it's called the King Jim Pomera DM250 digital memo.
There it is.
And I'm very excited about this little contraction because, we can take this thing. It's got like 100 hours of battery life, but I can go take it and I can just sit on the sand and I can just write.
That's cool.
and just be in that. I mean, how often, listeners, do you give yourself the opportunity to just turn off everything, turn off the screens, turn off the social media, turn off the notifications? I know that some of my younger parents are laughing like, really, Sally? I never get to turn off because I always have a kid screaming or following me into the bathroom or whatever. And Eddie, we know that season, right? When my kids were little, it was when the whole house would go to sleep. That's when I would write.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it was quiet for me. Or it was in the very early hours before everyone woke up. That was the only time I could do it. Or when the kids took a nap, had to drink an extra cup of coffee. But the act of pausing and being still, being quiet, and just allowing yourself to think is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And to work on these things. So I think being an overnight success is a myth. I guess if you win a lottery ticket,
Yeah.
that's overnight money right there, winning a lottery ticket. Oh, and you go from living in a 1-bedroom flat to living in a mansion on the cliffs of the ocean. I mean, that's an overnight.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all great things, all good things that are lasting, it's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the majority of it. That is what it is. And being okay with the results and very evident progress not being exposed for a long time. That's the hardest part, is hanging on when 30 days have passed and you feel like you've progressed like a centimeter.
Yeah.
30 days have passed and you just like barely feel like, your body's going to make it another day because all those miles you put on, all those weights that you've been lifting, it's not budging. You don't feel stronger. You don't feel fitter. And even career wise, you feel like you put in 30 days of work and you're like, is this worth it? And I say, yes, hold on. Cause sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years, but that is what makes a full life. It's the work you do every single day. The highlights, the flashy celebrations, the pinnacle of success, it's fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rare in our life. We get a handful of those things. I look at my 10 years of racing and it's like a handful of races that are highlighted out of 10 years of racing. And I can tell you a handful of races that I'm just like, yes, we did it, and it's surrounded by a lot of setbacks. It's surrounded by a lot of failures along the way. So just another good word for those of you that are looking forward to making some changes, making some progress, stepping off the hamster wheel and moving forward. First, sit and be still and plan your steps and really think about what it is that you're doing right now. Eddie, I think that one of the most powerful conversations we've had this year is the idea that in the last couple of years, we're finally at a place where we can make decisions and say, we're saying no a lot more than we used to.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, when I was trying to build a business, when we were building a brand, and then of course, when we transitioned and we were working together, I said yes to everything because it was a means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to, we needed to pay for electricity. We needed to pay for our rent. I think of all the many years that, at least a handful of months that our bank account was in the red, where we're looking at each other and we're like, how are we going to pay rent? That's a real journey for us. And sticking to the work that we were doing year after year and really believing that, building very slowly. And now we're at a point where we're like, you know what? We don't need to do that. Let's focus on just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another piece of encouragement that I want to give to our listeners. So often we see people who have achieved something or in a place where it seems like they have success, and we think, oh yeah, it must be easy for them. Yeah, of course they get to do that. It's like, no. It takes a lot of work before you can get to that place where you really get to focus on the work that you love. I spent so many years having 2 and 3 jobs, doing one thing I really liked. It wasn't making much money, while also working 1 or 2 other jobs in order to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of years doing that. And so the encouragement there is stay the course. In all those years, when I would look at, okay, what am I doing? Am I just like not even progressing and moving forward? It's like, I am progressing and moving forward inch by inch over here. This other work that I'm doing, it isn't my favorite, but it is feeding into my love and passion and my dream. It's funding that. And I think that goes hand in hand with the Mammoth Film. It was our first time ever being able to fully fund a project. And that project was very expensive, but it was a dream come true. And we were able to fund that because of all the other things that we have built. So it's like, okay, we're going to work on in all these other areas, and that can fund this project. And that's been really fun to learn that, because that was something I don't think that we ever believed that we can do, that we would be able to do. But yeah, here we are, Ed. Here we are. Hard work. And I say hard work not as in like 18 hours a day and your like sweat is coming down, your forehead and your back is aching every night you hit the pillow. The hard work is making the hard decisions. The hard work is staying quiet and doing the mundane. That's hard. It's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to be consistent. That's the hard work. Yep. That's what that means. It's not working 90 hours a week and ignoring, your family and friends. It's choosing to do work that isn't glamorous, that people aren't complimenting, and even the work that a lot of people don't know about. I'm all for that. Go disappear and just do hard work and see what happens.
You heard it here, folks. Go disappear. Go disappear. I like it.
Disappear and do good work.
Disappear and go do
you don't need the
work.
approval of social media and everyone else. Shock the world with the end result if you need to. But yeah, I think 2025 is about good work. I can see that in the notes that you were asking, the 2025 goals, and 2025 is about doing good, purposeful work, regardless if it's popular, regardless if I'm going to get followers or subscribers out of that. I just want to do good work that encourages people to live the life that they were meant to live, to believe in themselves. I mean, I think this is one of the most common emails, handwritten letters, and messages that we get, that people say, I feel like that I am capable. I feel like when I listen to the podcast or I read these things that I can actually go after a dream again, or that I can forgive again, or that I can try again, or that it is possible. And I mean, those are the messages that make me want to cry. Because I think everyone wants that in their life. People want to know that their life is valuable, that it has purpose, and what a joy to know that somebody believes in them, that somebody is rooting for them. And I'll tell you what, as we close up this podcast, Ed, that is something that I want to remind you, listeners, that we are working right alongside you. Our lives, Eddie and I, our lives are not more valuable. They are not better. I mean, we make a lot of mistakes.
You really
and
do. We.
There we go. Man, we've had a lot of challenges this year. We made a lot of mistakes this year. We didn't do everything right this year. We did have some failures this year. We had some heartache, all of that. But in the same breath, we have so much to be grateful for too. I'm very grateful for the home that we're in right now. I'm grateful for our health. I'm grateful for our children, for the amazing friends. I mean, we added up. So we've been in our home now for 3 weeks, and we've hosted over 50 people. Okay, for me, that is a dream come true. That's the greatest gift of that. Nothing fills my heart more than being able to host and to serve people. I love that. And yeah, was it stressful? Yeah, there was some stress and sleepless nights that went with that. But that made my heart so full. In the midst of the year that we had, to then realize that the greatest gifts we have are the people in front of us, or the people that we love. It's our friends and our family. That makes a full life, right? Not what is in our bank account, not a medal, not the accolades we get from our boss. It's doing life in the most real way, and being there for each other, loving one another. And I think that, ending this year with a full house has just been a great reminder to me. It was a good, reset for me. And so we want to continue to encourage you and that, listeners. We know that some of you are still running and lifting. Some of you are on the treadmill right now as the snow is coming down, and some of you are battling traffic. we just want to remind you that we think you are wonderful. Your life is full of purpose. It really is. And if no one has told you that lately, we want to we want to encourage you to believe in yourself, to move forward, to be okay with failures and setbacks, because that's actually growth, to help you achieve all that is in your heart and all those things that you dream about. Those things are in your head not just by coincidence. They're there for a reason. You are naturally drawn and attracted and excited about things for a reason. So go and discover that in 2025. Give yourself time and space to sit and be quiet. Be still, pause, write out your goals and your dreams and the things that you want to do, and aim high. Because the truth is that unless you aim high, you'll never know what you're capable of doing. And I promise you, you are so much more capable than what you think you are. You are so much stronger than what you think you are. And Eddie and I are going to continue to root for you. And we will tell you over and over and over again to keep choosing strong in all you do.